Welcome to the Gooseboyz podcast. We're the Skull Kids, Aaron and
Sherwood.
We are doing a Goosebumps podcast where we read a book and watch the correlating episode and then give our thoughts on the differences and a recap, I guess. This is all a test. We don't exactly know what we're doing.
It's the pilot episode.
It's the pilot episode. It's not even necessarily a pilot. It's like a test episode. We don't know if anybody else is even going to hear this. So we were just discussing as we were going into this.
What's our target demographic?
Whoever the fuck. I don't know. The first one we're doing is The Haunted Mask. It's the first episode that aired, but it was like the fucking 15th book or something. I don't know. Let's look at that information right
Probably
now.
should have studied this information
on the
beforehand.
spot. We're looking it up. Shit. It's not showing up here.
It would be helpful if you pulled that screen over here.
Okay, well, you know what, Sherwood? I'm gonna have to edit this anyway, so just go ahead and fuck yourself. Alright, these are the books. Where's the episode? The Haunted Mask.
Yep.
Goosebumps Book 11. Alright, so Goosebumps Book 11 was the first episode. It was a 2-part special that premiered on Halloween in, I think,
1995.
1995 it is. October 27th. And then the last one was November 3rd? No, alright, that was the next one. So, yeah.
14 million viewers.
Some big fucking
That's
shit,
a
man.
lot.
It was a special event. These are huge books. Maybe we should start with that then. What is Goosebumps? What is Goosebumps?
That should have been the first thing.
You know, let's start over.
No, it's fine.
Alright. So, Goosebumps is a children's horror anthology by
slapping the table.
By author R.L. Stein. It was released in the early 90s.
Is he Canadian?
Is he Canadian?
I assume.
No idea.
Isn't Goosebumps Canadian?
Well, I think that's just due to the fact that it's much
that's the
cheaper.
production company.
The production company of
Maybe
the
episodes.
TV show. It's much easier to film in Canada.
I'm sorry.
Most 90s kid stars are Canadian, and that still goes to the fucking today. A lot of Riverdale is all filmed in Canada. Yeah. Supernatural's filmed in Canada.
Wow.
It's a lot easier to film.
Canadian?
It's a lot easier to film, or cheaper to film in Canada than it is America because of these fucking laws.
The economy.
You know what? It's probably the economy. So, in 1995, they made the special The Haunted Mask, which is an adaptation of the 11th book, as we've just discussed. And it follows Carly Beth, a crazy little girl.
She's not crazy.
Alright, she's a bit of a little bitch.
She's pretty straight-laced.
And
she's a good kid.
Everyone in this girl's life is terrorizing her.
Not everyone.
Except her mom. The only person in her life
isn't.
Did you read the book? Her best friend is in on 90% of these pranks.
Okay, she's complicit, but she's not actively.
She's complicit and laughing at Carly Beth the entire time.
Seeing people get scared.
Sure, but this is clearly upset. This is disturbing Carly Beth. She is not having a good time in life.
It starts out when she's in the cafeteria and some boys come up and scare her.
Some boys in the
and
hood.
they put a worm in her sandwich and she
No.
It.
So that's in the show. In the book,
I'm talking about the book.
No, in the book he offers her a sandwich that has a worm in it. It's his sandwich. He said, "My mom didn't put no fucking mayo."
Whatever. He feeds her a
My
worm.
mom's a bitch and didn't put no mayo on my
you can
turkey.
Kill someone with that.
I mean, that's not really the point of this.
Parasite.
We're not talking about Hawaiian slugs here. We're talking about goddamn
Worms.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, regular worms. Pick a worm up off the street. Could
So-
kill you.
Carly Beth, everyone in her life, her brother, her best friend, her other 2 friends, who in the show are just bullies and not friends with her, but in the book they don't really seem like friends with her at all, Chuck and Steve, because all they do is fuck with her. No, in the book they explicitly say they are friends. The 4 of them are good friends, and it makes no sense because they are torturing her at every goddamn turn, and it's so weird.
Aside from scaring her all the time, they're probably great friends.
I don't think so, because they're feeding her worms.
There's only one worm we know of.
Alright, they fed her a worm. They attempted to ruin her science fair project by scaring her.
Yeah, sabotage.
They are assholes of the nth degree. Nth degree? I don't know. The nth degree. I know. That's why I called myself out. I fucked up. Shit. What happens
But in
next?
the show, that's in the book. In the show,
The show the show episode starts like on Halloween practically, as where there's like a bit of lead up in the book of like there's a science fair, they're having a regular old time.
The science fair in the show.
They cut the science fair and like the entire cafeteria scene aside from it's like now outside.
They moved it.
Yeah. For what school is outside? Was this like it was on Halloween? Is that like I didn't go to school?
Some schools are outside.
So they have outside lunch? Is that like a common thing?
Sometimes I don't know. That's not really important.
I think that's pretty important to my experience.
Inside, outside
voices. I don't understand the difference. So after this, Carly Beth decides she needs to get revenge on everyone in her life, but specifically Chuck and Steve.
Get them.
This is where my theory that
they're borderline harassing her.
The haunted mask is an allegory for school shooting.
It doesn't have to.
The mask is a gun.
Shootings.
This little girl has been pushed to the edge, and she's gonna get the scariest fucking mask she can. She is gonna scare everyone. And see, R.L. Stine was just ahead of the times. He saw Columbine, and he was like, "This is too fucked up. We really need to get our kids back on straight with this spooky mask story in the 11th book in the series." And then in the show, they were like, throwing all these different messages in. They removed the science laboratory that the masks were made in.
Well, in the show, when she finally confronts them and is scaring the fuck out of them with this light,
let's stay on the path. So she decides to get the mask and goes to a fucking brand new shop that looks to be goddamn ancient. And all the masks in it are
described
weird.
As new in the book?
I think it's described as new in both of them.
In the show, they're like, hey, there's a new shop.
But yeah, it looks like it's been there since like the fucking 60s or something. And the masks in it are just goddamn awful. Like, they have a racist, bald, fat Chinese man with like the long mustache. What looks to just be a Chewbacca mask with glasses put on it. Awful shit. So she don't think Chuck and Steve, they ain't gonna be scared by this shit.
It was a gorilla mask.
That gorilla mask had real gorilla hair, man.
That's what he said, but
that's probably
a salesman.
Yeah, he's
admitted
towing
to
the
not
company
liking
line.
The customers.
Oh yeah, so that's another thing. He then gets a phone call as she's looking around the shop, and as he's talking like Ludkov or Ludzar, or some like Russian name on the phone, he's like, I don't care about the customers. And then
a few times he says that.
He said it at least twice, that he does not care about the customers, as one is walking around his shop.
And she walks right into the back room. She sees a secret stash of masks.
Finds a cracked door, and these masks, fucking freak-ass masks. Freaky fucking shit, man.
They just kind of look like men's heads.
Yeah, except one that is like clearly a goblin or
Monster
demon
man.
face, and the rest just look like a fat guy.
Mild zombies, maybe.
Popeye the Sailor Man with his like snarled face or whatever.
One of them look kind of like Two-Face.
A little bit from Batman Begins, everyone's favorite.
The Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
No.
Batman Begins.
No, it's Batman.
Batman Forever.
Batman Beyond. Yeah, Batman Forever.
Hell yeah! Was
The
that
second?
Was that the one with Riddler too? With Jim
Yes.
Carrey Riddler?
Yeah.
That was the terror. That one's great.
That was the worst.
That one's great.
Batman and Robin's the best.
Batman and Robin's pretty great, but we're not here to talk about Batman and Robin. I almost slapped the table again.
Killed the dinosaurs.
The Ice Age. What's cooler than being cool?
Mr. Freeze.
Exactly. But the old man comes back and he's like, yo, don't touch those freak-ass masks. And she's like, I gotta have it. And in the book, she's like begging on her knees. She is pleading with this old man
It's on the puppy dog eyes.
to give her this mask. And he's like, you're gonna regret it, little girl.
Okay.
And then he sells it to her. In the show, she just is a goddamn
She literally
thief.
steals
She
it.
is a thief. She steals this man's
Throws money at him, says, here's your money.
private property. And she only has $30. That mask is clearly worth hundreds. That is an expensive mask.
In the 1990s?
That is an expensive
Inflation.
fucking mask, man.
$30
Whatever.
is like $60 today.
That is still not enough to cover that mask.
$60 mask.
With those realistic teeth and prosthetic. That
Okay,
thing
they didn't
has
look that realistic.
flesh.
We saw it.
They described it.
As it looked in the show,
Yes.
$30 is a
real.
good deal.
A good deal, yes.
Go into the Halloween store and look at a mask and say, that mask looks pretty good.
If I saw that mask for
And
$30,
it's probably worth $30, but they will sell it for like $90.
that's what I'm saying.
Halloween store?
This man's personal property was stolen by this 11-year-old girl. But she's supposed to be 11. She looks to be about like 15 in the show.
Nah, she could be 11, 12.
In the book, she's 11. They explicitly say like 5 times. In the show, she's just like some like teenage girl.
She looks like 12.
I don't
13.
think so. That girl was at least 25. So she runs home. She's got this creepy mask now. She's about ready to get revenge on this Chuck and Steve cucks. She talks to her brother. Her brother wants to try the mask on. She ain't letting it happen. She's like, fuck off, little brother. Fuck off, Noah.
She says, I'm late. I gotta go.
Noah. And then her mom is like, oh, let me look at your duck costume I made you. But she ain't wearing the duck costume. She was throwing a fit, tearing that shit to shreds earlier. She was crying and looked like she was laughing. She was shaking it around. She threw a literal tantrum.
She's a good girl. You know, she doesn't...
She literally just threw a tantrum.
Doesn't act up, doesn't get in much trouble, probably.
She doesn't. She gets fucked with by literally everyone in her life but her mom, who also made that plaster mold of her face that then, like, smiled at her. So, yeah, Carly Beth also stole that and put it on a pole and then attached, like, a red scarf in there.
Looks like blood.
So it looked like the blood or the guts hanging down.
That's pretty creative.
That's pretty creative. I did not get what that was as a kid. I did not understand that. I remember specifically being baffled, like, why the fuck are you putting a scarf on there?
Pretty obvious.
I was like fucking 6 or whatever.
That smart.
I was a small child.
The target demographic.
The target demographic's like, 8 to 12. I would say. I was about 6. Whatever. I was baffled.
5 to 9.
So, there's some shenanigans, some, like, cartoon Wile E. Coyote shit with her trying to avoid her mom, like...
She just bends over backwards and one.
Yeah, there's some Wile E. Coyote shit, and then Carly Beth hits the streets. Starts scaring kids, going like, hey! Oh, yeah.
Her voice.
So, in the book, the moment she puts the mask on, it changes her voice. It is, like, automatically garbled and monstrous. Everyone says this is the scariest part.
Carly Beth.
Essentially, oh, yeah, we forgot to mention that shit. In the Halloween store, there's a bunch of licensed goods in the book, like a Star Trek mask, a Freddy Krueger mask, and,
by name,
quote-unquote, Freddy's hand. My favorite line in the whole book talking about Freddy's hand. And, yeah. Almost every page they are name dropping some pop culture reference, some product, and I know that's like a product of the 90s.
I mean, it's just that's what was popular at the time.
That's what they
Freddy
did. Animorphs.
Like,
well, no. I'm not talking about even that. I'm talking about like Animorphs did that too, where just like all the time they'll like say random shit that's popular. And, like, they don't do that as much anymore in books.
Hey, kids, you heard of Freddy Krueger?
You like Jell-O?
In a scary book, that seems like the choice.
Yeah, well, I'm not denying the choice of Freddy. I'm not saying that's a bad choice. I'm just saying that happened a lot more.
Books, you gotta get the kids, right?
Yeah.
What are the kids into? What do they like?
I feel like that happened a lot more back in the 90s, and we got away from just as many, like, literal just products being put in books. I don't know.
What kids' books are there today?
That's not the point. We're moving on. Carly Beth out on the streets scaring small children. In the book, she, like, gets confronted by a mom who's like, the fuck are you doing scaring my kids? And Carly Beth is like, nah, fuck you, bitch. And she's, like, about to kill this woman. She literally says, I have it written down here, I'm gonna tear this woman apart.
That's not what she says.
I'm going to tear this woman apart.
That's what you
quotes.
wrote.
I wrote it down in quotes from the book. And then the next line, I'll chew her to bits, I'll tear the skin off her bones. These are verbatim quotes. No, she thought this. But this is Carly Beth's inner monologue that she is going to murder this woman. Carly Beth should never take this mask off. She becomes insanely brave, the scariest person ever.
I disagree.
Stands up to adults and is like about to become superpowered. She's talking about like running through the darkness and shit.
No, she's just running in the dark.
She would have been super powerful if she'd kept this mask on. But then she, runs into her friend Sabrina, the bitch that keeps bullying her.
Bitch or witch?
Well, she's a cat.
Could have been.
In the book, she's Catwoman.
Could have been Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
No. This isn't Netflix.
You said these were teenagers.
I said they look like teenagers. You're supposed to be 11. But that's not the point. Sabrina And Carly Beth, that's her name. I was blanking for a second. I'm kind of just ranting.
Edit out those spaces.
I intend to. Now that you said it, I can't. Or I'd have to... Yeah, whatever. I'll edit all this out. Sabrina and Carly Beth, they meet up, and Sabrina's mind immediately on Chuck and Steve. All she cares about is using her mask to get revenge on her bullies. You see how it's clearly about gun violence
that was the whole
in our schools.
To scare him.
Yes, with her school shooter mask, the haunted mask.
I don't know why it has to, like, what does that even look like?
You saw it. It looks like the Green Goblin thing that she's like, yeah, running around town in.
Yeah, when I think school shootings, I think like a green monster man.
Yeah, well, that's what's inside of those people.
No guns, no kind of weapon.
That's what's inside of them, man. You don't get the deep allegory.
When the people are killed from these gun school shootings, a head on a stick is what you get from it. So,
yeah,
it's an obvious
your own head on a stick, as you now have a demon monster face. That's the clear message of the haunted mask, and that's the deeper layer of meaning that I don't think you've been picking up on.
Represents student debt.
I think you're just on a thinner level of understanding of the text that I'm talking about. So Carly Beth fucks with a bunch more people, and Sabrina's like, I don't like this. You're scaring me. Which is
too scared.
Her brother, Carly Beth's brother, also way too scared by this thing after scaring her multiple times earlier.
That's what the little girl at the house said. The mask is too scary.
So now we have hints of the hypocrisy coming in, where literally everyone but the mom in this girl's life is constantly scaring her and laughing at her for being scared.
Scared.
The second she scares them, they're like, you're sick. This is disgusting. Like,
it's too scary.
This is too much. They literally call her sick multiple times.
Come on, stop scaring us.
She went sicko mode on everyone in town.
That's the real social commentary of the haunted mask.
The hit track sicko mode.
I was thinking getting scared.
Yeah, well, they love it. And it's also about, like, accepting who you are in the show.
Yeah, the guy had a whole message about that.
He had a whole message about that, but in the book, we're getting off track again.
Ahead.
Yes. It's so much. There's so much richness to this text.
In the book, she steals everyone's candy.
Oh, yeah.
And ends up with a huge pill.
Huge bag. She is robbing kids for bags. No one's gonna get that reference. Robbing little kids for bags, that's the name. Mine's Playing Tricks on Me by the Ghetto Boys, classic track.
In the show, she dropped the candy, didn't give a fuck.
She didn't give a fuck about the candy. In the book, the candy was like a large motivator for robbing all these little kids for bags.
That was her excuse.
Sure. But then, eventually, her and Sabrina split up, and Carly Beth runs off to find Chuck and Steve. Gotta get these fuckers.
Gets them.
And they're in the show. We're just gonna go with the show version. They're hanging out in a cemetery. They're
hanging out as pirates outside of a cemetery.
Doing terrible fake swords.
Every town in the neighborhood. What are they gonna do next? Let's go in the cemetery.
And the shorter one that looks like Bruno Mars is like, I don't know about this one, Yogi. And then the big one's like, oh, let's go in.
Then he's like, oh, I heard something over there. And then the little kid
goes. The Bruno Mars looking kid goes over. And he's like, what the fuck is this noise?
Tall kid gets a mask. Comes up and scares him really good. And he's like,
and Bruno Mars kid's like, real funny.
Come on, man.
He wasn't that whiny. He didn't like it, but he wasn't like whining about it. He was just like, whatever, man. And the other guy fucking loved it.
He loved scaring.
I think that kid was on some drugs. Like,
no, he was just having a good time.
That kid was on something.
Halloween night.
Maybe it was unintentional. Maybe somebody drugged his candy and he got like one of those marijuana gummies. Well, I heard about that in the news. That's some serious business.
You gotta throw away that unwrapped candy.
Gotta throw away the unwrapped candy, as the book made a very big point about for no real reason, but it did. That was like 5 lines about throwing away.
If you get any single wrapped gummies, don't trust them.
I'm gonna trust them. I'm gonna trust them extra. Hope there's some heroin in there.
Ew.
Well, I want to get good and going. If I'm getting drugged against my will,
what does heroin even do?
Oh, it makes you feel like you're on top of the world, baby.
Don't they all?
Yeah. But it's like finding the one that you like the most. Anyway, so Carly Beth just happens to be running by the cemetery, and he overhears Chuck and Steve having a good time, and she, like, you see the sparks in her eyes. By the way, the eyes on this mask, whoever is the suit actor, I don't think it's the same actor that is acting Carly Beth. Sometimes.
When she's flipping around.
She's doing, like, cartwheels and shit.
6 feet tall. I don't think that's her.
But there's so much good suit acting where the eyes of the suit are, like, looking around and you see the whites. And it is...
peeking around corners.
The funniest fucking thing in the world. It's the same reason why, like, in the better Friday the 13th movies, you don't really see Jason's eyes. They're blacked out most of the time, because seeing eyes through a mask is silly as fuck.
Well, yeah, and that's the point in this one, is that it's sucking to her face, essentially. At the start, they kind of start with the eyes are blended in, so it looks like of all the points on the suit that's connecting, it's going into her eyes, and then it gets more form-fitting as they go, and they make them look more slimier, put more, like, accents on the cheekbones and shit.
The teeth start moving more with the mouth and stuff. Yeah, there was some good, like, makeup effect in this.
At the start, it looks like the shittiest mask.
It looks really, I'm not saying it's good makeup effects in this. I'm saying for a 1995 TV special about a horror anthology, not bad. Not bad special effects.
She still looks like a kid wearing a mask.
She does.
Making her voice.
With overalls. And a good, like...
flailing
around.
A
good, like, 5 to 10 minutes of this is just her running around, going, just, like, running around the neighborhood. That's, like, the whole goddamn thing.
And then eventually she goes back home.
No, wait. She hasn't scared Chuck and Steve, has she? In our narrative?
Oh, yeah. She's scared.
So she was running across the graveyard, happens to overhear them, sneaks in there, and is carrying her head, and she's like, ha ha! I killed Carly Beth! I'm gonna kill you!
And they immediately say, it's Carly Beth, right? Is that you?
You scared us, Carly Beth. And she's like, Carly Beth's down here!
And then she gives them a whole speech about how it's not nice to scare people, and they're like, oh, well, we just did it because we like you.
That's no excuse!
And you can't do that if you like someone. That doesn't work like that. It gives them a moral speech.
Throwing down life lessons left and right. The Haunted Mask, it improves Carly Beth's personality 1,000-fold. And then
that is important for boys to know.
It is, sure.
Don't fuck with the girls like that if you like.
All right, you cuck. Let's move on.
Don't scare people to death.
The boy, Chuck and Steve run off, thoroughly freaked. In the book, she stole their bags and ran off. And in the show, they run off, and then she's, like, dancing around the cemetery, buries
her head.
The mask that her mom made her, and then runs off.
It's not a mask, it's a sculpture.
The plaster head, whatever the fuck it was.
A plaster.
Whatever the fuck it is. She runs off, somehow just bumps into Sabrina again. They all laugh and have a good time.
No, Sabrina finds her.
Yeah, Sabrina has been hunting her down all night. They go back to Sabrina's house. They start counting up their candy. In the show, Sabrina has thrown all of her candy away because no reason.
No, she didn't. That was her candy.
No, that was Sabrina. I meant Carly Beth. I keep confusing the names because Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
It's all Sabrina's candy. Carly Beth has none.
Yeah, Carly Beth has none because she threw it away for no reason. In the book, her character motivations are so clear, and it's great. The book is so much better than this episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's 1,000 times better. I think that
values.
Let's get back before we get on review. So, Carly Beth's trying to take the mask off, but won't come off. Well, there's no scene.
There's no line.
There's no line. I can't get it off.
We gotta cut it off.
And then
Sabrina,
instead of deciding to try and cut it off, she's like, this isn't my face, and just runs out of the house.
No, she goes over to the mirror to look to see that there's no line, and then she's like, those aren't my eyes. I know my eyes. Those aren't my eyes. If you saw your eyes in the mirror and they were totally different, probably freak you out.
Yeah, so she runs out of the house and runs back to the haunted mask man salesman, the happy mask salesman.
Lets her in.
He's like, I've been expecting you. You dumbass put on this haunted-ass mask. What were you thinking?
And then he explains that he made the mask in a lab.
In the book, yes, he created all these masks in a laboratory for seemingly no reason. And
But in the show, he says, oh, he made the masks, but he had no love inside of himself. He didn't love himself enough, and inside was, like, hate and bad things, and then it infected the mask.
It's because he had a fucked up face, and decided to make beautiful faces to put over his, but then that deep-seated hate corrupted the mask.
Ugly was on the inside.
Honestly, that motivation is a lot better, but I think it is hilarious that he just made them in some lab, and also happens to own a mask shop. This character's backstory is what I want to know more
I
about.
think he has a mask lab where that's where he makes the mask.
That's what I want. I want to know more about the mask maker guy. I don't care about Carly Beth and her stupid friends, Chuck and Steve. I want to know more about the tall, thin man that... Why did he make these masks?
He's got some technology.
So she's like freaking the fuck out. Like, tell me how to get it off. And he says there's no way to take it off. You can't take it off. There's no possible way you can take it off. And then he just tells her there's a way to take it off. And you need a symbol of love. But it can only be taken off
once.
This one more time, which is not something they emphasized in the show at all. They did not say this whatsoever.
I think he did. He said you can take it off. There's no way to take it off. But then he was like, have you taken it off before? She said, oh yeah, I did once. He's like, maybe. But if you put it back on, that's it.
He did not. It was not as explicitly spelled out as it was in the book that if you or anyone else puts this mask on again, it will be sealed to them forever. That was very explicit in the book.
There's one more chance to take this mask off.
But it was, for her, it was very unclear exactly what was going on with the rules of the mask in the show. They beat around the bush a lot more.
He said you need a symbol of love.
You need a symbol of love to take it off. And then she's like, a symbol of love! A symbol of love!
And then suddenly the masks start floating up in the air.
They wake up and they're like, Carly Beth!
To join us.
Help us! Carly Beth! In the book, they like float in a straight line going like
wall in front of her.
Yeah, they're like doing fucking combos. She then runs back to the graveyard where she buried the head and digs it up.
They're chasing her the whole time, and it's just dudes with green screen suits and masks on, so it's just the head part floating around. But you can kind of see their bodies, and you can tell where they are by the way they move. They're like flipping their heads
around.
They're
just jerking about.
Like spinning around.
Carly Beth!
Pretty good effects.
Pretty hilarious and pretty fun. She shakes her own head around at him, and then they just disappear. In the book, she like puts the head on over her own mask.
She's trying to ward him off with the head, and they just come right up to her. And so, without thinking, she like, drops her hands and puts it on her head. Puts the sculpture of her head on top of her head, and she's already wearing the haunted mask.
Yes.
And then the heads disappear, and then she pulls it all off.
Then it's just a mask again. She throws it up in the air, catches it, and runs home. And then
in the show, she just takes the mask off.
Yeah, and when she's home, her mom's like, "What happened? Sabrina's been calling. Why didn't you wear your dog costume? So Carly Beth."
Shit to shreds.
And then she's like, "It's been a long night, Mom. I'll tell you later." And then her little brother Noah steps around the corner, and he's wearing the haunted mask. Well, end of the story.
It was pretty funny in the show. You could see as she was making up with her mom, her brother Noah is in the back around the corner. You see a shadow on the wall as he's struggling to put that mask on and dancing around.
And then she's like, "Hey, don't put that mask on." And he's like, "Don't worry.
I didn't.
I won't." And then he steps out wearing it. And he's like,
and he doesn't even freak out or anything. He's like, "Looks pretty cool, huh?" In a normal way.
Yeah. In the book, it ends so well, where it's just like, he jumps out wearing the mask, and then it's just like, that's the end of the fucking book. The story cuts off right there, because you, as the reader, know he's stuck in that mask for fucking ever. Noah's life is over. It is
He's probably
done.
not going to get it off.
Nope. Never coming off.
They're in their house, so the mother could easily like, see this pillow? I made this for you when you were born. Symbol of love.
No, because he said that the symbol of love will only work once in the book.
That specific symbol, though, there could be another one.
No, that kid's fucked forever. He said it is locked to the next person.
Maybe it's per person.
No, that's what he said in the book. That's what I'm saying. In the show, it was not very clear. In the book, he spelled it out very clear. This will only work once. If you or anyone else puts it on again, it will be on their face forever. He was very specific about that.
Well, we're watching the show now, so
we're
that canon.
Gooseboyz.
They probably got the mask off.
Gooseboyz. See, that's what I always accepted because I don't think I ever read the book as a kid.
And isn't there a Haunted Mask 2 episode?
There is a Haunted Mask 2. I think there might even be a Haunted Mask 3 book, but I don't think there's an episode for that. Yeah, I don't think I ever liked the second one nearly as much. But a quick question. Quick question. What were the masks gonna do?
What do you mean?
What were they gonna do to Carly?
Before or after she put it on? Okay.
No, the floating masks.
They weren't doing shit.
The floating masks when they were chasing her. What were they gonna do?
They wanted her to join them.
Were they just gonna like slide down one after the other?
No,
she was gonna wear all of them?
No, they wanted her around. I think.
I
assume they wanted her to come back in there and chill out with them in that room forever.
And like. In the book, she was like, "Are they going to eat me? They're about to chop me to bits."
She had no idea. She could only speculate.
I don't think R.L. Stein had any idea what they were going to do. Yeah, what the fuck were these masks going to do to her?
It's pretty scary. Like, they could be doing anything. They could get on her.
She could have just, like, slapped him out of the air. I mean,
maybe they're powerful.
We didn't see any evidence of this.
Maybe a mask user has no effect against a mask.
Or that's the only person who can fight a mask. See, that's what I want. That's what I want from a Haunted Mask 2 that we didn't get, is somebody uses the, like a villain puts the mask on, and they become, like, powerful, and they're, like, an unstoppable force.
Use the mask to steal kids' candy.
So then someone else has to put on the original Haunted Mask, and our Carly Beth as an adult has to put the mask back on, and she has to fight the person who put on one of the other masks. And then there's, like, all the different people wearing all the unloved ones' masks.
All right, who do you think would win? Someone wearing the haunted mask or the stone mask?
The stone mask. Oh, all right, wait.
No, at full power.
The stone mask makes fucking Dios vampires.
Well, it depends on the person. So, random person wearing the stone mask becomes a vampire.
Should probably the stone mask is from JoJo's. It shows.
What if Dio put on the haunted mask instead of the stone mask?
I think he'd probably become super powerful.
Yeah, he'd probably run the world.
He would destroy. The Haunted Mask gives you superpowers. So, at least Carly Beth's Charlie Beth's little brother Noah Beth, I guess. He will become a super powerful villain throughout his life as he grows up.
Get it off.
Nope, it is explicitly stuck forever, Sherwood. You are going against the canon. It's on there forever. Let me consult my notes.
This is a Haunted Mask 2, so maybe it comes off.
Yes. One of my other favorite lines from throughout the, where she's running around as the Haunted Mask, she saw a mutant Ninja Turtle and a Freddy Krueger. And I just enjoy the sentence, a Freddy Krueger. I know it does make sense.
Mid-90s.
It's just funny to read a Freddy Krueger. Because that's like saying a Dracula. And that's something I adore. And Freddy's hand. Freddy's hand is the most powerful weapon.
I got one of those in the car.
No, you don't. You have Freddy's glove.
That's the fucking claws.
You don't. No. It's not the claws. It was Freddy's hand.
What?
It was explicit that it was not that. It said Freddy's hand.
It said Freddy's hand, but you know what it meant.
I don't think so, R.L. Stein.
So what, you think they're just going around carrying Freddy's hand?
Yep, that's what the book said. That's what the text said.
Okay, the literal interpretation.
Yep. Yeah, that's about all my notes.
Did we mention the Unloved?
Yeah, well, those were the other masks. I said them.
that was his reasoning for him, because they had no love. No one loved them.
No one would love such hideous
Even though he created them.
Yeah, for himself.
He created them for himself and decided, fuck these things.
I don't love you.
I don't love you. No one else is going to love you.
I'm going to make more of you so I can not love all of you.
The real social commentary is child abuse.
Yeah, that's...
If you don't love your children, they're going to turn into monsters.
That's a fair analogy. Why didn't the masks just, love each other?
That's another social commentary. They could have
come together.
They could have come together as a community.
But, their own hate for each other's ugliness is what got in their way.
It's like Evangelion. All the kids could team up and become a super powerful force, but they're all focused so much on their own issues that they don't work together.
Sure. Do we have anything else we need to say about this episode? We kind of went through it.
How many bumps do you give it?
Out of 5 bumps, I would give the... All right, we're gonna rate the books and the episode separately.
Yeah.
I would give the book 5 bumps out of 5. I loved the book. I thought it had
Classic
fantastic atmosphere. One of the best horror short stories of all time, in my opinion. Maybe not like top 5 or anything, but this is a classic fucking horror story.
It was pretty simple.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be complicated to be an effective short horror story for kids. It is spooky.
Could have been edited down to like 40 pages.
Could have been edited down a bit. Some of the formatting is a bit fucking weird, where it's like some chapters are...
He would end the chapter like on the least scary thing he could.
And like... So, like, the science fair was, like, 3 separate chapters that were each, like, 1 page, but, like, none of the locations changed, none of the people talking changed. It was just 3 separate chapters of 1 location and event, cut up for no reason. But then, in another chapter, there's, like, multiple location changes, and he, like, breaks it up, and it... Just stick to one method, RL! What does R.L. Stein stand for?
Have someone... Robert Langdon.
Robert Langdon
That's not it.
Stein?
It's a Canadian-American.
Robert Lawrence Stein. You were close. So yeah, he's a Canadian author.
But Carly Beth would get scared. Like, Carly Beth was sitting down, and then she felt a hand on her shoulder. Chapter end.
Yeah.
And then, it was just her friend, and then she's talking to her friend. And then someone came around the corner. Chapter end.
Yeah.
The easiest cliffhangers.
So silly. But what would you give the book? Out of 5.
Book? I'll give
5
bumps.
bumps.
It's a haunted mask.
It's a haunted mask. It's a goddamn classic.
Want?
What do you want? The episode, I'd give it about 3. 3 bumps out of 5.
You know, I feel like I have to give it a 5.
Really?
It's a haunted mask episode. It's like they have one of the most high production values
Of the episodes,
don't
for
they?
sure. For sure.
The mask is pretty good.
The mask is pretty good. You know what? For the scene where all the masks are like jerking their heads around, I'll bump it up to 4 bumps out of 5. Because that's fucking hilarious. That part is fantastic.
The atmosphere is pretty spooky. They had some good like 90s lighting and smoke and fog.
Yeah.
When they're on the streets and it looked pretty
solid
dark.
atmosphere. I think my favorite atmosphere of an episode is Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns. Is that what it's called?
Probably.
Invasion of the Jack-O-Lanterns. Whichever the one where they're all trick-or-treating forever.
Trick or treat forever.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the test episode / first episode, the pilot of Gooseboyz.
I was going to ask, how much of a threat do you think the haunted masks are?
They're a pretty big threat, honestly, because
skill like citywide, they can take on a city.
I don't know about a city. I think
world.
No, I don't think they're even city scale. I think they are a genuine threat. They could kill a bunch of people because clearly they bring out the worst parts of your personality and feed on your negativity and then make you act on those things and make you irrationally angry.
Basically like the mask.
Like an angry version of the mask, which is, I guess, a haunted version.
The mask is just like a stand. It brings out your like subconscious personality and bullshit.
Yeah. It's a solid threat. They could kill some people for sure.
It depends on the person.
It does depend on the person.
I don't think Carly Beth would turn into like a super Hulk monster.
No, Carly Beth didn't want it. She was clearly scared by it because Carly Beth is a scared
Even
kid.
if it stayed on her permanently.
Chuck or Steve, I think they would have.
Oh man, Chuck, was that the crazy one?
I think so. I'm not sure. The tall one, the lead
one?
pirate one with the fat ass.
Whoa, fat ass.
That kid, all right, non-sexual. That kid's ass was enormous. It was huge. It took up
I remember you talking about it, but I didn't see any kids' asses.
I don't see how you couldn't see it. It took up like a whole frame. It was enormous. If anyone out there watches this, pay attention to the tall bully kid's ass.
Keep your eye on that little boy.
Look for that booty, because it's popping. Jeez. That's a bad way to put that. Anyway, what the fuck were we talking about?
If Chuck or Steve got the mask.
Oh, if Chuck or Steve got the mask, they'd be some fucking monsters. They could possibly take down like at least a dozen people. No problem. I guess that's the end.
Yeah.
See you next time.
That's all we got.